All right. Well, we finally have you in person, Mr. Troy Casey, the certified health nut. What's up, my man? Dude, first found you and started following you during COVID back in the day when they were shutting everything down. I was doing a thing called legalized lifting because I thought it was absurd. If there is a health emergency going on, that we're shutting down the health clubs and the gyms and the place where people go to get mentally and physically healthy. They're shutting them down. I was like, this is insane. But that's where I found you on social media. And so I think you had a bigger beard at the time. Yeah. And you were out there basically out in public. And at first I was like, looking at you, not knowing you at all. I was like, oh, okay, this guy, Sedona guy with a beard, and he's probably kind of hippie, probably liberal or something, I don't know. Let's see what's going on. And you're out there just raging against the same shit I was about all the forced, shutdowns and the masks and the vaccinations and all the stuff and shutting down the gym. And I was like, this is my guy right here. Follow, but so that's how I found you. Like we were both kind of out there raging against the machine that was going on during the COVID thing. So I don't think I ever got to thank you for that, but that's how I first found the certified health nut.
Yeah. COVID was pretty exciting times to be alive. And that was probably downtown Los Angeles. Eric Garcetti tried to close the beaches for 4th of July.
Yeah.
So that would have been, I think, around May 25th.
Okay.
And it was right before all the BLM stuff that broke out. And I just wasn't having none of it. I saw it on the horizon. I've been talking about these times in my lectures for many years. I went down to the Mayan temples and studied a lot of the ancient knowledge, the Mayan, the Incan temples, drank a lot of ayahuasca in the 2000s. So I knew these great times of awakening were coming. And we went through 2012 and there wasn't any big catalyzing changes, nothing dramatic, but I knew the time was still coming. And I studied with the Mayan elder, Wandering Wolf out of Guatemala. He was the Mayan high priest that's still alive. Did a film called Shift of the Ages as well that had him in it. And so I knew these times were coming, and I lectured about the quantum leap in my health lectures. And when 2020 rolled around, there was something in the air, January of 2020, I go, I can taste it. I can feel it. I think there's some, this is the year of inner vision, right? Yeah. 2020. And so, and sure enough, I didn't know what that was going to look like, but March 3rd of 2020, we moved into 2020 20th Street in Santa Monica. And so, and my family had some challenges with black mold and we moved a lot. And so we finally moved into a nice place. My ex-wife and I had some challenges, and we got divorced, and then we got back together. And so I was still living in LA. I hadn't moved to Sedona yet. I moved to Sedona shortly after that because LA fell. They locked everyone up in their house. I mean, I wasn't going to be locked up. I ride my bike. I'm on the beach every day. I was in my bikini doing qigong out in the ocean, and you've got 6 LAPD officers on electric bikes, like trying to intimidate people. And I just wasn't having it at all. And so as no mandates supersede the Constitution of the United States of America. That's the law of the land. And the cops knew I was right. And anyhow, so I took it upon myself to go downtown because I could also see the writing on the wall. And they had a big freedom rally. And I posted that up on all social medias. And yeah, I was screaming freedom, baby. Rage Against the Machine.
Hell yeah. What were the Mayans saying or showing you? Like what were they kind of prophesizing?
Well, the end of the Mayan calendar was in 2012. And then, give or take, whether it was that accurate. But the Mayan high priest, he said, that's a transition time. It's not like immediately going to happen after that. Could be 2015, 2017, but we are going through a huge transformation of consciousness.
Sure.
And so, and I could feel that, and I saw that in my visions in the Amazon. I understand the way of the world, geopolitics, IMF and the World Bank giving these loans to third world countries to push the people off of the land for their natural resources. First it comes in trade, and first it comes in as a gift. Here's some money, right? And then, hey, pay that money back. Oh, you can't? Well, not only here's some money, but let's give it to Halliburton and Bechtel to build infrastructure for your land, and then grid systems, dams, waterways, roadways, et cetera. And then they ask for the money back. And if you can't pay it back, that's when the economic hitman come in there. the jackals, and they want the money back. And if you don't give it up, then it is the American military. Coup d'etats first, and then the American military. And we saw this in Iraq, Afghanistan. We saw it in Syria. We saw it in Libya, Venezuela. We had our hands in the pot there as well. And so oil exploration is the number one deforestation component in the Amazon rainforest. And I was working with an herbal company down there studying the herbal medicine. The cure for cancer is basically in the Amazon. And so, and I was drinking ayahuasca. So I had some very powerful visions, and they've been unfolding ever since.
That's awesome. Well, how about now? It's 2024. If we jump forward a little bit now, the world has not gotten less chaotic. It is not, I don't think, slowed down. I feel like COVID might be over, but I feel like we are still just on this crazy tornado of chaos in the world with everything. Like you just mentioned so many different things with, trade and currency and everything. And you're certified health nut, but you're also very in tune to like what is just going on in the world, because all that does affect health.
Of course.
So like now in 2024, what do you see going on now? Because we're going to talk health, but like just in general.
Well, we're only healthy to the degree we're conscious, and we're only conscious to the degree we are healthy. And we are only as healthy as the environment is. So, and as we're seeing with these war-torn countries and their military fighting adults coming across our border, there is no separation.
Right.
We are all one or none, and no one's free until we're all free. And if we ruin the environment so our children can't breathe and drink water, then we're screwing ourselves. And so this, to me, is just a clarion call, a wake-up call. And so, and I think that the last 4 years was a big wake-up call. Think about how many people are now awakened. I've been on the poison injection front for years because I had children, and I did my research back in 2006. I already knew about the poison injections. I have clients that come to me that went through the military and that got anthrax, and they have all sorts of weirdo diseases that they can't recover from.
Yeah.
And so usually they end up exhausting the medical situation, and then they come and find me. And I was working in the Amazon with the strongest plants on the planet. And so
I have 11 anthrax shots.
So, and everyone's different, right? I got a guy who's got cracks in his hand and he can't heal them, and he's got major issues.
Yep.
And so so I read Suzanne Humphrey's Destroying Illusions. Friends with Andrew Wakefield. I understood everything that they did in their movie Vaxxed, and Vaxxed was not about a bunch of people that were misguided anti-vaxxers. This was about William Thompson, who worked for the CDC in 2000. I do believe it was 2004. 10,000 pages of data got put in the trash can, and it said that there was a 226% increase in autism for African American children after the MMR vaccine. And Robert Kennedy Jr. has already sued Merck for the MMR vaccine. And so it goes pretty deep. And so that film, because William Thompson came out as a whistleblower in 2014, I do believe, if I have my facts straight, blowing the whistle on himself and his own team of burying this data. And of course, the biggest controversy on the internet is, the correlation. There is no correlation to autism and vaccines, but yet there is, and it's just been buried. And so I've been aware of this for a very long time. So I saw the writing on the wall again in 2020 with this whole schmovid. I don't want to say the words too much because, AD is going to have to edit them out or something because things get censored. The free speech here has been very limited. The Constitution is the law of the land, but it's not being honored right now.
That's right. Well, two of the main things I wanted to talk about were, you've already mentioned RFK and his potential new role in America. And then also what Zuckerberg just kind of blew the whistle on himself yesterday and what they were doing at Meta. You didn't see that?
What happened? He wrote a letter to Congress.
I'm going to show you this.
Yeah, he wrote a letter to Congress essentially stating that he was basically doing the Biden administration's bidding He was like, "Hey, I just want to let you guys know." It was to Jim Jordan. I think it was to Rep Jim Jordan.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
Justin's
read it.
got it up right now.
Oh yeah, I saw Lenny
Yeah.
Boy posted it yesterday,
Yeah.
but I didn't get to read it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's very,
please read it.
It's very
here's-
telling.
Because if I don't know about it, then everybody out there, it's a good idea if they know about
It's
it.
already been buried in the media. They already, pushed it aside.
Okay, here we go.
So this is from
Reporting
Mr.
live.
Mr. Zuck himself to the Honorable Jim Jordan, chairman of the Committee on the Judiciary. Wow, 3 times. Got it. All right, here we go. In 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. And he basically goes on to say that it was their decision to or not take it down, but he believes, again, quote, "I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret we were not more outspoken about it." And then he also goes on about all sorts of other stuff. He says, in a separate situation, the FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to the 2020 election. But let's see, he goes on to say that it's since been made clear that the reporting was not Russia disinformation. And in retrospect, we should not have demoted the story. We've changed our policies to make sure it doesn't happen, so on and so forth. So they straight up just said Biden, including directly from the White House, pressured us to basically censor Americans like you, like me, like anyone that was talking about lockdowns, closing the gyms, forcing to wear a mask, cops at the beach pulling people out of the water, like any of that. And even if it was satire or humor, they were basically forcing them to take it down.
Yep.
And I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's trying to get ahead of a whistleblower coming out or what, or why he'd just be ratting on himself right now.
Project Veritas.
Yeah, I mean, most likely they seem to get everywhere. But that was just yesterday.
Good. The truth is coming out. And this is the transformation of consciousness that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's already been elevated through the last 4 years. People are on edge. You see what they're trying to pull, another monkeypox or something like this. People just aren't falling for
Was
it.
that other one EEE? There's another one. It's like with the mosquitoes, equestrian something or other. They locked down a town in I think it was in Michigan. They locked down a town and said that they had a curfew or something. I saw it last night, and the townspeople were like, no. Like, what do you mean a curfew? Fucking curfew? Like, so they, and you just see it all happening again,
Well, in the World Economic Forum, policies are baked into these small towns. Most people don't understand that. I realized that moving up to Sedona and getting involved in politics up there, they had baked in policies from 2014 from it's called ICLEI, I-C-L-E-I. It is a globalist faction with policies that were baked in through the city council. And I asked the vice mayor at the time, who was on the city council, and he denied any knowledge of it whatsoever. Right. So either pure ignorance or diabolical selling out America's interests.
That's why local
at
elections
the local
matter.
level.
Yeah, that's why local elections matter almost more than the major elections, because the decisions get made at the local level. Like, macroeconomics or macro government matters a lot too, like who the president is, but also like the things that happen in your own town are directly correlated to who is your local representative. So it's like, it matters a lot. And I know a lot of people that vote for the president, but they don't vote for their local electors. They don't even know who their mayor is. They don't know who their, even their congressman is,
Well, I did my best to get involved when I was up in Sedona, and I could just see how corrupt and incestuous and also big business was there.
Yeah.
And they had put up a 9/11 statue and this vice mayor had done it. And actually, people can still see the interview. It's called #SaveSedona. And it was with the now existing mayor. And there was a girl, an actress girl that was from Entourage, I do believe, and her family was there, Samir Armstrong, and she ran against him. And I just wanted new, fresh blood. And there was one of the guys from the spiritual movement there. He'd been running for mayor before. And then there was the old establishment that created all of the complaints that were there. The retirees hated the traffic, and Sedona was being pimped out through marketing and PR campaigns from $3 million a year to a Los Angeles firm that would just bring all this traffic in. The Airbnb pushed out all the people that grew up there. They raised $90,000 for a new school in the previous 10 years. That school is now closed because there's no children going to it. My children were evicted out of a Sedona Unified School District building from a Waldorf school that was very successful for 6 years, 75 children. And this is America. I thought, wow, something happened with the school. Let's have a bake sale, right? Let's, golly gee, let's get a bake sale, get the children back in. Oh no. That's a Sedona Unified School District building, and there was some kind of back-ended hotel deal. It was all about tourism, and it was just incestuous. And I was like, "Whoa, this is a little bit too big." I went and did the protests. The ATVs are ripping up that sacred land up there. The dustification. The farmers were on it. The farmers were the one who were giving me a lot of the intel of what was really going on, because they had lived there for decades, and they watched these mayors and these people come in there with all these lefty policies. They're trying to put there's multiple layers of what ICLEI did, and basically they want to control transportation. That was a Stalin move, right? Stalin wanted to control the population, to control the people, you control the transportation. Well, you can no longer drive down into Cathedral Rock, even if you live there, and park, right? It's all blocked off. And then you have to get on these city buses, right? And so it just seemed like there was so much corruption. So the ATVs, the traffic, the Airbnb situation, and Sedona just being completely pimped out. And then the politicians, when they were asked, because I went to city council meetings as well, it was just like, I don't know. Next, sir, your time is up. Like, they would never address any of this. And so people can watch those interviews. And this person is now the mayor of Sedona, and he comes from the Port Authority. So he was there during 9/11. And then erected this 9/11 statue at the fire station there in Sedona. And there's all sorts of questions about the potential false flag and what happened during 9/11. The official story, anyways. Clearly something happened, but what the official story is, it's well known about Port Authority cops, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I got involved, and I just saw how incestuous and dirty it was. And who knows if there was election fraud up there, because that was what? That was 2020? Was it 2020? 2022. That's right. That mayoral election. And, some say there was all sorts of election fraud. So who knows? They're using these machines.
That's right. You never know. You said a lot of great stuff here. And I want to ask you this. I want to figure out how to ask it. The world needs more health information, more health awareness, more health action, right? You talked about the consciousness level of the planet is pretty freaking low. It's causing, I think, sickness. It might be affecting a lot more than we realize. But why do you think, Troy, from this big level, talking about consciousness, the collective, all these people and everything, why is health under such strong attack? Because we're being attacked with our health through food, things like seed oil and sugar. You can buy soda on food stamps. There's very strong anti-meat campaigns. There's forced, vaccinations. There's all these things that are obviously going against health. But that seems to be the main source of influence or power coming from wherever. And when we fight back against that, now we're getting into things like Meta, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, censoring that stuff.
Misinformation.
We're getting deplatformed. We have doctors getting their license pulled and everything. And it's like, what is going on from like a planetary level? Like, we're trying to get healthy, but almost everything is against getting healthy.
So, there's a broad spectrum of the way you could look at it, right? Let's look at it at a very simplistic view and just be like, golly gee, it's not that bad. It's just business, guys, right? Just business, bunch of business, got out of control, profits over people, not a big deal, just a bunch of greedy people. Greed is one of the 7 deadly sins, oops, but bunch of humans just making some mistakes, right? You could look at it that way, right? Sure. Good for business, right? Big ag. Big tobacco went into big ag, big food. Yep. And
Philip Morris owns almost all of Kraft Foods.
Right. And it's layered. So business, we could just say it, write it off as business. Then we could go into some diabolical stuff. We could go, this is a death wish to control the population. Many people will remember that the Georgia Guidestones were actually something that existed. It was written in stone that they wanted to lower the population to 500 million. That was more manageable for the world. Last time I looked and flew over planes, there's vast amounts of open space on this planet. We're not managing it to the degree that we can optimize.
Right.
So I postulate that we can do things much better than we already are. And so is it business? Is it diabolical? Is it a death wish? Is it what Bill Gates is on about with population control? Or is it just total control? Because the Mao Zedongs and the Stalins and the Armenian genocide, these things existed, right? I like to minimize Hitler a little bit because there's a lot of mystique in the propagation of Hitler and, the Holocaust, and it's all Hitler, Hitler, Hitler. Well, Stalin killed more people and Mao Zedong killed more people. And we don't bring that up enough. So genocide has always existed, control, fear, control. And this is what I do believe that we're evolving from. I do believe that we can do things better. My study of human consciousness and health is that at the heart level, everyone wants peace. And also on a psychological research level, about 6% of the population can be psychopaths. So there goes the third explanation. Bunch of psychopaths out of control, Jeffrey Dahmer style, just kill at will, just achoo. I just want to, carpet bomb, wallpaper carpet bomb, Iraq, just like, some people like to roll like that, Genghis Khan style. And so there's that. And then you could go so advanced out into the aliens and be like archons and what do they call that? The Anunnaki. And, you look at Zecharia Sitchin's work and the land in Israel, those were all landing sites for the aliens to come in. There's a little bit more meets the eye. So again, you want to just play in the Disney level and just be like, it's just business. Or do you want to go, it's just, crazy, energetic Satan games, dark forces. It could be any one of the gamut, but I'm here to change all that motherfucking shit right here, right now.
Good.
Yeah.
Good, because you're right. I think the appropriate answer is probably all of that to some degree. But the fact is, like, everybody has all those things working against them to get healthy, which is insane to me, because without health, obviously we know we have nothing.
Correct.
So it's just wild, because even if you're like trying really hard to do your own research or like eat healthy and do these things, like, it's weird. We have so many people that are so passionate about, if you eat meat and go to the gym, you're a right wing extremist now. If you talk bad about seed oils, you're a conspiracy theorist. It's just like, dude, it's absolutely crazy how hard it is to know what is real information. And that's something we strive so hard to do, is just to bring really clear information about whatever it is, about working out, about nutrition, about hydration, about sleep, like these things that we know that we need to be healthy, that people like don't know anything about anymore. It's crazy.
Well, we've been disconnected. We've been cut off from the source of knowledge. I'm here to remind everyone that 100, 150 years ago, there were no pharmacies. There were no doctors. There were no hospitals. Right. And so we would pick the plants off the ground, the local natural medicine, right? Hippocrates was a 3rd century BC philosopher, and he said, let thy food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food. And we used to hunt and gather. What did we gather? Roots, barks, berries, herbs, greens, etc. And so plant materials that have alkaloids, terpenes, very unique nutrients. And so we've gotten so far away from that. I was lucky enough to study with the Golden Oracle, Ada Marie, down in Oracle, down near Tucson, Oracle, Arizona. We came out for a retreat, and she left us a book that she created, which was all natural remedies. And she lived on the prairie in Wyoming. And so her mother gave birth to her. There was no hospital. There was no doctors. And they would use the natural medicine on the land. And she, the book is basically baking soda, apple cider vinegar, some herbal formulas, hydrogen peroxide, even kerosene and turpentine
Mhm.
were used to take out parasites. And so, and she lived to be ripe old age. I mean, she was 80 plus when I met her, and I haven't stayed in touch with her. But she gifted me that book, and that's natural medicine at its best. I worked in the Amazon with the Shipibo Indians. They were our vendors for the herbs that we were utilizing, and those herbs and that herbal lore has been down there for thousands and thousands of years. How do you know the chacruna leaf mixed with the Banasteri caapi, the ayahuasca, actually makes this magical brew? And so there is a spiritual component to where we're at. So I like to simplify all the health stuff getting back to nature in as many facets as possible, and zeroing it down to fundamental principles. The body needs movement. The purpose of exercise is to move the lymphatic fluids. The body needs to move every day. Walking is the best exercise for human beings, in my humble opinion.
Agreed.
It's the way we're designed to move through time and space. It's also a de-stressing exercise in these very stressful times. The body needs sleep. That's the anabolic phase.
Mhm.
And so we need rest, and it's a good idea to sleep in alignment with the celestial realms, which is harmonized with our hormones. So it's a good idea to get good sleep hygiene. The body is mostly water. Good idea to have pure water. The solution to pollution is dilution. And so it's a good idea to have the purest, high vibrational, structured water that you can possibly source without going neurotic. The more videos I make on water, the more questions
Oh
people
man.
have. Food should be natural, right? We should work towards forgiving. We're in relationship with everybody. So forgiveness and gratitude for what is, and letting go of stuff that what was, I think is a good idea as well. Men need purpose, I do believe. Women, I do believe having children and a family is enough of a purpose. And I'm not here to limit them or anything, but I think the children and mommying is the number one job on the planet. Right. So that needs to be put on a pedestal. Men need purpose, or they will kill themselves or kill somebody else. Right. They'll just go around in circles or bore holes in their stomach called ulcers, whatever you want to call it. They need a purpose, a legacy, a dream. And this is the essence of my work. I put it in the book, the 9 pillars of health. And so legacy is the most important, figuring out your purpose. And then everything else falls behind. If I tell you to eat organic food and you're like, oh, well, and this guy says not to, and this guy says vegan and that, great. But if you have your purpose in alignment, then you're going to get your food game on, whether you get it from me or you get it from the other guy that's a vegan or a carnivore. You're going to have to drill down to bedrock and see what works for you and what you can source in your local area. You want locally grown, farmer direct, locally grown as much as possible, farmer direct nutritional food. I don't care how you source it. Let's have the conversation of the quality of the food, not what you eat, but the quality of the food that you eat is directly related to the life that you lead. And so what are some of the other pillars? Nature, we're electromagnetic beings, electricity from the sun, magnetism from the earth. It's a good idea to get both of those in as much as possible. Take your sunglasses off. I don't put any sunscreen on my body. I don't have any chemicals. I told that to people on a video one time, and they're like, hey, this is misinformation. And you better wear your sunscreen or I'm going to call the cops on you.
I haven't been sunburned since I stopped using sunscreen.
Yeah.
I have not gotten, and I stopped wearing sunglasses.
Yeah.
And I don't get sunburned anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm the whitest person in the building, probably.
Me too.
I'm
Irish, bro.
Yeah. It's crazy. My mom, I think my mom owned that book, the Golden Oracle book you're talking about, because all those things she had in the house, talked about, like, she didn't let us have artificial sugar. I didn't have sugar till I was 14. Like, she was doing all that stuff and continues to do all that stuff. And she's in her 70s and can still do a handspring and stuff. And and it's crazy that, because I always tell people this, like, we're the only animal on earth that has forgotten how to eat. Like, we don't know how to eat.
That's correct.
Why do we not know how to eat? That's stupid. Every animal on the face of the earth knows exactly what to eat. They know when not to eat. When they're sick, they don't eat. Like, people ask me, like, what do I eat when I'm sick? Nothing. Fast. Every animal on the face of the earth fasts when they're sick. Weird. I wonder why. I wonder if fasting is healing somehow. Like, but we've forgotten. And it's, only over the past, like you said, 150 years, 200 years since big agriculture and industrialized farming and all that stuff. And 90% of what you can find in the grocery store didn't exist 100 years ago. So it's like, I think if we just went that route, like you said, just simplify it, went that route. If you can't kill it, if you can't pick it off the earth, if you can't pick it off of a tree, you probably shouldn't eat it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it's crazy to me. There was another point I wanted to make in there when you guys were talking about like big agriculture and stuff like that, and like if it's just business or if it's demented, right? People forget that like Kellogg, like the cereal, Kellogg cereal.
Eugenics.
Kellogg's cereal was designed as an anti-masturbatory. So like Kellogg, the guy made that cereal bland and shitty, and he made it so it would have a negative effect on male hormones so they wouldn't masturbate anymore. And it's like, oh, well, they don't do that anymore. That's just like saying that, oh, the CIA doesn't do that kind of shit anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
MK Ultra.
It's like, no, they don't do it. No, it's a 2024. They don't do that stuff anymore, even though they did it for the last 100 years. Like that stuff doesn't exist anymore, though. Everybody's nice and, you know, like, everybody's got level-headed.
That's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Let's unpack the sunscreen because we live in Arizona.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of parents, moms, dads are you know, trying to do the best for their kids. We don't want to get fried and all that. So tell us why we shouldn't wear sunscreen. And if there's an alternative, what do we do?
Well, I'm not here to tell you why you should or shouldn't do anything. What I do is I do my best to have a pure existence so I can be healthy and feel good. If I put too much chemicals, if I hang out indoors, Wi-Fi, air-conditioned buildings, don't move my body, don't get proper sleep because I can stay up and dance all night in Miami. You know, all these things are outside of the bounds of nature. So the more of those things that I do, the more sick I feel, the more low energy. Call it low energy, call it low vibration. I don't feel good. And so for me to optimize my energy, I work to have as much of a natural life as I possibly can. I've studied enough herbs, herbal medicine, internal purification, and I know and nutrition that when I boost my internal nutrition with high quality herbs, superfoods, astaxanthin, for example, is a red algae that grows in the ocean, and it's what the lobsters, the salmon, and the crabs, they turn red. That protects the radiation against the sun for creatures that are living in and around the ocean. And so so that's just one food, right? And you can obviously there's a lot of research on antioxidants, proanthocyanidins, vitamin C, camu. These things are natural protectants against the sun. Topical vitamin C, also internal vitamin C. If you go out in the sun, it's going to deplete your vitamin C storages, especially if you re-upped in the morning or something like that, with something like fresh squeezed orange juice. It's going to deplete that within 40, 45 minutes. So it's a good idea to have something topical with those plant pigments in it. So I'm all for sunscreen. How about
maybe not the kind from Walgreens though.
how about a shirt and a hat?
That's right.
Right? How about a hat? That's gonna protect me. That's gonna protect me against the sun.
Yeah.
And I'm not harming my skin and my gut. Your gut is highly absorbable. This is going to protect my nose. It's going to protect my head. And a shirt. And that's if I'm out for long periods of time. My business partner lays out at the pool here. He's Italian. You know, his family's Sicilian. Guy will do 2 hours, an hour on each side naked every day during the summer. I mean, that's a little too much for me, but I'll ride my electric bike over to the gym and back, and that's 40 minutes in direct sunlight. It's hot, but it also helps acclimate to my environment. And so, which I think is important. You know, we as a species, we lived out in nature and we knew how to navigate. And I think we've gotten so domesticated and so far away from that. So again, internal sunscreen is a good idea with nutrition. Your body's going to naturally protect against it. And then physical sunscreen, a shirt or a hat. That's, you know, basic intelligence for me.
Yeah. I love how you said it. And I was thinking about like this glass here when you talked about like our body is absorbing everything around us, everything from Wi-Fi to the food we eat, to what we put in our head, how we move our body, all that stuff. And it actually makes a ton of sense if you think about it like that. Well, like how saturated is your body with trash? You know, because a lot of people are filling it with junk from all over the place. And then they're trying to do something like spray like just a little layer of sunscreen on, thinking that's going to help them, quote, stay healthy. I like your approach. Is like, no, how about I look at what I'm actually doing with my body and my skin, my organs, my hair, my eyes, like all this stuff all the time. So when there is something a little, this is kind of how the philosophy for Earn Your Booze works. So when I decide to have some tequila every once in a while, I've done everything else that I can throughout the month to set my body up for health. And now when I have a little bit of alcohol, my body basically knows how to handle that, knows what to do, you know, but if you're just
metabolize the poison.
Yeah. So if you're constantly saturating it with poison on your skin and in your body and your mind and not moving your body and everything, it's no wonder people get sick. They're saturated. The glass is full of trash. You know, I really like that approach.
Yeah, it's a whole picture model, right? Because I get asked that a lot too, like from our clients and stuff. It's like, well, when I tell them like I haven't been sunburned since I stopped wearing sunscreen and since I stopped wearing sunglasses and all this stuff, and they're like, well, how do I do that today? And I'm like, you can't do it today. Like you're gonna get burnt today if you try that. It's a process. It's always going out and getting sun in the morning in my face and on my skin. Always, every day I do that. And that sets my body up to understand that, okay, we're awake. We're out in the sun. My circadian rhythm is now on point. I'm producing melanin when I'm supposed to be. Like my body's producing the chemicals that it needs to protect me from UVB rays, all those things, or UVA rays, all those things are happening. And then I also don't put seed oils in my body. I also move my body. Also, all these things are like work in conjunction with each other. And it's not just, well, can I get a toxin-free, a tallow and zinc based sunscreen? It's like, sure, you can do that. It's like, that's better than nothing, I guess. But also you should probably look at it from, and this is such a buzzword in the industry now, like a root cause, right? Look at it from the root where it's like, okay, well, what are you eating? Are you out in the sun ever? Like when was the last time you were out in the sun before 10 a.m. with your sunglasses off? Oh, it's not since you were a kid. Like your body doesn't know what to do. Like Justin was saying, it doesn't know what to do with this stuff. Doesn't know what to do with the sun when you're out in the sun. It doesn't know what to do with the booze when you drink the booze sometimes. It doesn't know what to do with the toxin that's happening now because it's just constantly been bombarded with it. So
it's overwhelmed. It's saturated. And this, I think what you're alluding to is the holistic model, getting to the root or the etiology of the issue and then surrounding it mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, or in many different ways. Or the allopathic model. Oh, here's your symptom. Here's a pill for your symptom, or a gadget, or a gimmick, right? And then people are like, oh, I checked that box. I tried that. That didn't work. No, the holistic approach is a lifestyle approach. Yes. People call me all the time for decades now, especially when I worked in the Amazon. Hey, Troy, what do you have for cancer? As if holistic health or holistic medicine was the same as allopathic. What magical herb do you have in the Amazon? Cat's claw, uña de gato, sangre de drago, graviola. I mean, these have all been researched for cancer drugs and trying to make them into cancer drugs. But the fact of the matter is that one herb is not going to help you if you've got to reverse lifestyle damage for decades or, even years. Yep. And so it may take 40 days and 40 nights of many different approaches, right? Changing your water, changing your sleep, forgiving people that have harmed you, etc. All these things have validity, and it's not going to happen overnight. And not to mention the allopathic method of cut, burn, and poison doesn't necessarily solve your problem right then and there either. I think there's a 5% success rate with chemotherapy.
Yeah, we can go down a rabbit hole on that.
Yeah, we don't need to.
Yeah.
We don't want to get censored.
Yeah, I want my next airplane that I get on
Make sure you
just
bleep all
randomly crashes.
So Troy, here's a question we get a lot. People are waking up, thankfully, I think.
Yes,
a lot of people are to health and a higher consciousness about themselves and how they fit in and what their purpose is and all that. But they ask us all the time, like, well, where do I start? What do I do? Because we've said a lot of cool stuff here, a lot of good stuff here about a lot of different things. So a lot of the average person is going to be kind of overwhelmed, right?
Correct.
So where do people go? Like I'm holding your book right here called Ripped at 50. Awesome freaking book. You have, I think, courses and things you can do in person and all that. But like the guy that's listening or the girl that's listening, that's like, man, I get it. I don't feel good. I have not been doing a lot of the things that I've just heard on this podcast. Like, where do you think someone should start? Because a lot of people, I think, try to bite off too much.
Yep.
And then they never have any success. And then, like you said, they check it off and say they try that, and then they move on. That could have been the dang answer. So where do you think people should start?
So I recommend people begin within. Get really clear. Look yourself in the mirror. If you're sick and tired of what you're seeing in front of the mirror or the toilet bowl, those are my big diagnostic tests. Now that we have genetic testing and blood lab tests everywhere, and everybody, they want to pull your labs. Hey, man, look in the mirror. Do you like what you see? If not, start moving in the direction of changing that. So a man's purpose or legacy or dream can be a small goal. You can get your overall purpose. If you end up working with me, we take you through that. I do it in our first one-on-one session. Then we have an 11-week course. But getting clear on your legacy, your purpose, your dream, you could have a little goal just looking in the mirror. Okay, I don't like what I see. I'm throwing in the towel, and I'm going to start moving in the direction of something better. That is your now purpose. Mm-hmm. That is enough of a purpose for you to live through to go to the next level.
Love that.
Then you start searching and finding people online that you can emulate. Only study with people that have what you want. Are they balanced? Are they authentic? I do believe that authenticity is the new currency. So a lot of the bullshit that we see on the internet, that's going to get subjugated by the real deal. People are done with all the bullshit, the great marketing, the blazzy pizzazzy, steroids. Because most people on fitness programs right now are on TRT and steroids, and there's no problem with taking drugs as long as you are saying to people, I'm taking drugs, as opposed to selling them a secret diet and exercise plan without telling them they're on performance enhancement drugs.
100%.
Right? So let's get the cat out of the bag. And Elliot Hulse is fantastic on this. You guys
know Elliot. I know Elliot, yeah.
So Elliot talks about his drug use, and so does JP Sears, right? And they put it out on the table. And so Elliot sells courses, JP Sears sells comedic ideologies.
He's great.
And so, but at least they're authentic and they're out on the table. And so, because there's a lot of implied bullshit on the internet of influencers being, look at me, I'm jacked and tan and rolling around in my Rolls Royce, and you can be too if you just pay me all your money, right? And that bullshit card is being pulled right now as we speak. And so, just beware of that if you're out there in the internet, and start studying with people that have what you desire. If you want a natural body, natural health, it is attainable. So Paul Chek is my mentor. One of his students is Jason Picard. He's got a good program. Another student is CVC Wellness. My business partner, Barbero Kaiko. You get Certified Health Nut, you get Barbero as well. And he's an astute dude. I mean, he can definitely lift some serious weight, and he's an amazing cook. He stays with me here in Scottsdale a lot of times out of the year, and so there are people. Elliot Hulse is another holistic guy. There are people out there that you can get holistic nutrition, badasses, people that are grounded, they have good skin texture, they have strength. And they have a way that can explain it that doesn't make you feel like a piece of shit because you're not, I don't like this whole, wake up as a warrior and yell and scream and treat people in boot camps and shit. I'll tell you right now, my clients, male and female, are beating themselves up. And with the suicide rates at a fucking alarming, that's fucking bullshit. We don't need to bullshit people anymore, put people down and take them through the ringer. We need to build people up. Our brothers and sisters, we need to build them up. And so this whole thing of like, you're not making enough money, so you're not good enough. And all this is all bullshit. It makes people feel worse than they already are. The world's a pretty precarious place right now. It's a good idea to build them up. And so find people that you want to emulate, and then go down their rabbit hole. I have tons of free content. I have people in Afghanistan and Pakistan that have no money. They watch all my videos and they change their life and they write me. And I'm so grateful for that. My whole business model is so I can make free content.
Mm-hmm.
That is my whole business model. You want more of my time and attention? You got it. But that's not a cheap date, right? And everything else I want to offer for as free as possible. And so if somebody wants a book and they don't have money and they write me, I send it to them. No problem.
That's awesome.
If there is a will to change, no problem.
I love that you're putting all this heart into it, because two of the things that we always talk about, like a good coach or a good leader, is one, especially when it comes to fitness and health, you got to have some science, but then two, heart, because just yelling and shaming at people is only going to take them so far. Only a small percentage of the population resonates with that.
And it's great marketing. Let's be clear.
It's good
Insulting
marketing.
people, people like to be, insulted. Kick me, beat me, whip me, pull my hair.
But while you're in, like, if your real goal as a coach or a leader of health is to help these people, you have to back it with heart. And that's essentially what you're saying there. I think one other thing that I always tell people to look for when they're trying to decide who to listen to, because you mentioned a lot of great people, like yourself included, is the right coach for somebody, in my opinion, is someone that makes them actually take action too. Because a lot of people, if they go to, let's say they go to Elliott House, awesome dude, right? Mm-hmm. If they're just consuming, but they're not actually having real action come through into their life, he's great, but maybe that's not the right coach for them. Maybe it's you, maybe it's Adam, maybe it's somebody else. So also that's another thing to judge, is make sure that you're actually implementing what you're learning and not just going to seminars and listening to podcasts and reading books and posting and all their stuff online, but not doing any of it. So make sure you're actually doing it, because it doesn't
becoming
matter.
a talking head or
a success zombie or something.
Bumper sticker.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
That's the old, what is it called when people say, oh, I've read 1,000 books. I'm like, have you implemented any of them yet?
Yeah.
You could read one book. Like if you just read this book and just implemented half of it, you'd probably be in a way better spot than you are now.
5%, your life would change dramatically.
Yeah.
But here's a good little internet snippet. I don't read. I stopped reading. Why? Because I've consumed enough books over the years. I'm here to implement them into my life. Not to mention, I'm also working on the internet. I'm scrolling, and this type of consciousness where my eyes track down. I'm just not reading at this phase of my life. Doesn't mean I don't read or have a few pages, but I don't consume books for the last 7-8 years. I went to the Czech Institute from 2011 to 2013, and I learned so much. It made my head spin.
I can't even imagine.
And it took me 7 years to implement it, to get the body of my dreams that I put on the cover. And then Paul Czech wrote the forward to it, to get the body of my dreams, to crystallize my own legacy, which is my mission is to raise human consciousness and change all systems on the planet. My vision is clean air, water, soil, and equitable systems for all of mankind in my lifetime. I'm here to get her done.
I love that. So speaking of all those kind of things, something just happened the other day that I've been dying to ask you about. And it's RFK Jr.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just going to read off this breaking news thing here from the other day, where Trump to appoint RFK Jr. to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic health problems and childhood diseases, including autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and many more. And you already mentioned earlier about RFK having a strong track record of going after pharma and a lot of these big freaking companies in court. And I think some
corporate of the polluters.
Yeah, some of the pushback that I've seen on him is like, oh, he doesn't have a medical degree or something like that. And it's like, well, look, dude, there's still going to be a surgeon general. Okay, but I think we need people like this that have the right intentions, that are also able to put in real action behind it where it really needs to go. We need to hit a lot of these companies and corporations where it really matters to them, and the wallet book and the PR campaign, and really raise real awareness of what they're doing behind the scenes with our food and water and all these different things. So I wanted to see what your thoughts are on that, with RFK potentially coming in to help kind of lead that mission for the country.
Yeah, I've been following Bobby's work for many years. I helped fund a movie that he was involved with, the 1986 Act. I gave some money to that. That was all about Congress passed a law, which is the red line in the sand that RFK talks about. The EPA has all of the exponential growth in autism, autoimmune, everything that you just quoted happened around 1989. In 1986, there was what's called the 1986 Act, which exonerated the manufacturing companies of vaccines from any liability. Now, this is unprecedented anywhere in the free world, right? We don't trade with people that don't have responsibility for the products they put out on the market. And so they were exonerated completely of any liability. And so from there, I think we went from a schedule of, I think, 6 to 10 childhood vaccines to, I think, somewhere around 70 or 80. And from then, the autism has skyrocketed. Like, I don't think there's any mystery in the statement that you just said. However, RFK has a track record. I've been following his career for many years. He has a track record for fighting corporate polluters. How he got involved in the whole vaccine argument, situation, litigation, is because he was working for corporate polluters that were putting mercury in, I do believe, the Hudson River. And women were coming with their vaccine injured children. And they said, look, you're fighting mercury poisoning. Here's mercury poisoning in our babies. And he was like, I'm not getting involved in that whatsoever, and take it somewhere else. And they kept coming and coming and coming. And that's how he got involved. Most people don't understand that every vaccine manufacturing company in the world is a convicted felon, right? And it's like, you're going to get your information from a convicted felon. You're going to get your propaganda. And remember, news stories are bought and paid for. It's all propaganda.
Explain that convicted felon for people.
It's all business. So the MMR, RFK sued Merck for the MMR vaccine. He also sued Gardasil. And again, I don't know about all these court cases. I just know the general essence of it. And so, and I'm not sure about all the felonies and fraud and everything that they've been convicted of. I choose to
but
remember.
It's heavy.
Let's look at just something like Vioxx. I'm not sure who represented Vioxx, what company, but Vioxx was put on the market. They knew its potential problems, that it was potentially deadly, but they said, oh, that's collateral damage because we'll make so much more money if we just launch it for X, Y, and Z. Well, it came back and it killed so many people. They had to, they had to pay fines for it.
Yep.
And so that's just one case, and there are many more. And so my train of thought on that was, RFK's been fighting this for a very long time. He's been suing the FCC on 5G ionization technology. I mean, these are all new experiments that are being played out on human beings as guinea pigs.
Yep.
And the American military testing stuff on people or pharmaceutical companies, this is nothing new. They did it on the Tuskegee Airmen. And also, I do believe they released some poisons in the subway in New York City. And so testing on human beings is nothing new. I just don't think that this is the most egalitarian way. And if I'm going to be poisoned, I'd like to know.
Yeah. What do you think?
And he also fought Monsanto. He sued them and won, I think it was like $4 billion. And then Monsanto was like, let's just settle. And then they moved over and merged with Bayer, and they settled for like $10 billion. And that was on glyphosate.
Gosh.
So glyphosate is another
Adam's favorite thing.
And this is Monsanto, the war profiteers that profited from, they started out as a chemical company in the early 1900s. And then they manufactured weapons for the Vietnam War, Agent Orange and napalm. And then they took that technology and put that into the herbicide glyphosate, which has 3 patents. And they lied or told interesting propaganda stories to get it put on the market through the shikemic pathway. Human beings don't have a shikemic pathway, but the microbes inside your gut do. And when you kill those microbes, that's where we're having all these problems. We've got obesity is through the roof. 70% of the American people are obese or overweight.
Yep.
You've got diabetes, type 2, type 1, and now type 3, which is Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Yep.
And so the cat's out of the bag, baby. You can propagandize it all day long and try and go, I love what's happening on the internet. It's like, that's not true. Hunter Biden's laptop. That's not true. That's a conspiracy theory. COVID or Event 201 with Bill Gates. That's a conspiracy theory. It's just like, mRNA vaccine. No, that's good. That's good for us. And it's like, what do you mean?
If anybody's curious out there about how propaganda works, you should probably read Edward Bernays' book Propaganda, because he is the godfather of propaganda. He is the one who it's insane the level of like information that we think is real now because of that one guy.
Yeah.
And he was Sigmund Freud's brother or
nephew?
Yeah, Sigmund Freud's nephew, and whole thing is
nephew or the cousin of Edward Bernays owns Netflix.
Oh yeah.
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect.
Netflix and chill, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and so here's another good one. I got all hip to Edward Bernays, The Century of Self. It was a BBC documentary in the mid 2000s. The Century of Self. It's like a 4-part, 4-hour documentary on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. The Century of Self. Find that. Okay. That will blow your friggin' mind.
Copy that. So I want to ask you one more thing about RFK. Because how old are you now? You got the book ripped at 50.
I'm 58.
50, man, kicking ass. That's awesome. I asked because I'm 40 and I've always known who RFK was, but I didn't really understand his background. So I think now that he has come out and is joining Trump to do the stuff we just talked about, a lot of people are like, well, who the hell is this guy? Like, we know he's a Kennedy. We hear a little bit about his background in court maybe, or, for clean water, clean air. But like, what you've told us a lot, but like, what's one other thing maybe, or what should people know about RFK joining? Because I think it's a massive thing. It's not just a guy that was running for the Democratic and then independent presidential campaign, and he switched parties because he got fed up with wokeness. Like, that's surface level. He's been working, he's 70. He's been working for a long time on these specific things, but I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Yeah. So look, my prime directive is to stay alive. Prime directive for all human beings is procreation, right? Is to have babies, right? To continue the species.
Yeah.
And so part of that is I'm only as healthy as the environment. So I do need to change the culture and the environment and the death wish that we have created on this planet, right? This death and dying, destruction of the ecosystems, the coral reef down near Tulum, the Amazon rainforest. I mean, there's massive destruction. I think we're the only species on the planet that creates pollution, right? Even if you look at animals that poop in the wild, I mean, poop is a necessary part of nature, right? And so we just have to create systems that are aligned with biomimicry. Biomimicry states that life creates conditions conducive for life. And so we just need to, whatever we're manufacturing and utilizing, it has to be able to go back into the earth naturally, especially when it comes to energy. And right now we're burning coal and oil, and those are just pollutive. And RFK was a litigator. I do believe he has 2 Ivy League law degrees. And so pretty smart cookie. And he was fighting corporate polluters. I think he had something to do also with the mercury in fish, canned tuna, stuff like that. And as a consumer advocate, he's also part of the Water Keepers Alliance or the River Keepers Alliance. And you needed to have a boat and live on a body of water and have an Ivy League law degree, right? To be a part of that, right? And you fight these corporate polluters. And so he started a big part of his career off with that. And then, and I don't know every single thing about the man, but I do like the fights that he has put up. So people have pointed out that he is in big support of Israel and that he's a Zionist. And I don't claim to know all the things about that. I do know that I don't like the supporting of war. He also speaks about that. And actually, Tim Pool did a great podcast with him at the Libertarian Convention. And I was pretty satisfied with whatever he had to say about Israel. Bottom line is I'm for the ending of all wars. I do believe that we can have peace in the Middle East and we can have peace on planet Earth. And I believe in a world beyond passports, prisons, police, weapons, all the stuff that we've created. We're not there yet, but I do believe it is completely possible. And so with RFK, I don't know all of his political affiliations and where he stands on supporting all the war and the money that we give to the Middle East. I'm not interested in that. I don't like what we just did in Ukraine. I think it's bullshit. I don't like funding foreign factions. I think we should find some more diplomatic means. And I do believe that the money system and the oil system is intertwined with keeping some of these factions alive. I think Saudi Arabia is the number one producer of oil. And of course, we have bases over there. Then we're at war with Iraq. Well, we decimated Iraq because they're the number 3 producer of oil. Iran's number 2. We have challenges over there. Everything's like strategic positioning for natural resources. And again, does this come back to the Anunnaki? Have there been aliens that landed in these sacred lands of Jerusalem? And again, I reference Zecharia Sitchin's work, and I'm no expert in it, but I think that there's a lot more that meets the eye, and there's some deeper Club of Rome, Bilderberg, like globalist elite factions that are at play. And I'm all for the obliteration or the harmonization of that.
Harmonization.
And JF, yeah, because Buckminster Fuller said you don't fight an existing system. You design the future, and that one will fall to the wayside. So we've already fought all the revolutions. We're going through an evolution. And I think if we reference back to JFK and that whole lecture he gave on secret societies, I think that has some relevance. And then RFK's father was murdered in 1968 in Los Angeles at the Roosevelt Hotel. And he was also speaking out about corruption. And the FBI also killed Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. during that era. So those 4 assassinations, and as much as he's studied the CIA and the FBI's involvement, and I like the way he speaks like a lawyer. Me, I want to fight everybody. I grew up on the street. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, it's like this. And then he's like all this lawyer speak and this like really just irons everything out. But the linguistic patterns that he has, he really lets people, know the truth. So again, people always throw me under the bus when I start talking about any positivity that I see in politicians. I really like Donald Trump and what he brought to the table as a brash New Yorker. Ain't taking no shit. We're going to change things, especially when Hillary Clinton, I was like watching everything. I watched the Obama propaganda and all that stuff. And I was like, because in the beginning I was like, yes, we can change. And then I was like, no, you started more wars than anybody, motherfucker, and dropped more bombs on people. So I was like, you're full of shit. And so the second time around, then he got reelected. And then I was like, well, what are they going to do next? Oh, Hillary Clinton. I was like, shit. And then they threw Bernie under the bus, and then they ushered in Hillary. How they brought in Kamala this time was that was even more of a Jedi mind trick, right? Yeah. But Hillary, they were like, Bernie out, Hillary in. I was like, oh shit. Here's the whole globalist movement here. And I was like, fuck, she's going to get in and she's going to cause another Benghazi and she's just fucking Hillary, man. I'm like, fucking, oh my God, not her. And then Trump gets in and I was like, what? I was like, wow, look at that magic trick. I was like, how the fuck did that happen? And then things started going great, right? All the way up into COVID. And I remember looking at the gas station during COVID, and gas was $2 and something cents in California, which, dude, it's been riding up around $4 or $5, in the last few years before COVID. And I was like, it was below $2. I was like, no way. Yep. And then he gets up front. This is the COVID task force. And he's got his pink tie on and stuff. And he's addressing everyone every day. And then you see the opposite of that when, Biden got in, he didn't even come up and talk to the people.
No.
Ever. And he had these like minions, like LGBTQ, just like out of control, like Raggedy Ann redhead. And it was just like, and they're smart people too, right? So if they're lockstep behind this bullshit fucking thing and they're super smart and they have the linguistic prowess to kind of, they weren't squirming very good. I love the memes that were made about it. You know, the black girl, what's her name? Jean Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
And then the red-haired lady as well, Pataki or something like that. I mean, and you just juxtapose that to, what's her name? McEnamy.
Kayleigh McEnamy.
She was fucking razor sharp. And the one before that, Sarah, who's now the Arkansas
Huckabee
governor, fucking brilliant, right? Yep. And just straight up, you could tell there was more authenticity. And it just seems like a clown show. You know, complete clown show. And because there's so much propaganda and they did those 2 impeachments with the Russian interfere, like just layers and layers of bullshit and propaganda. And it just seems all so common sense. And I want to put this on the table. I am an apolitical man. I am an extreme centrist. I have very liberal and progressive ideas about changing the money supply and the energy supply on planet Earth, and also creating a world beyond money. And I'm also family, God. The United States of America's got our God-given rights written on a piece of paper. I think that's some profound shit right there. The reason we're the most advanced civilization on the planet is because we have our God-given rights written on a piece of paper that is embedded with liberty and freedom and the pursuit of happiness for all. And so we're not there yet, right? The treaties we did with our Native Americans and stuff, there's some appalling shit that we've pulled off as well. However, I do believe that is a good platform that needs to be honored. And as we advance into the next phase, look, I tell people and men my age and people, my followers in New Zealand and Australia, we have a responsibility. Those that have any levels of freedom, First Amendment, Second Amendment, especially in America, because we have the Second Amendment, we have a huge responsibility. Anybody that is affluent in this world, and this goes out to all those internet marketers, it's like, if you're just trying to make money for the sake of money, you know, shame on you. You have a huge responsibility as a man to change this world, because we are the only ones that have a voice right now. And so, my mentor, Paul Chek, pointed out only 3% of the population makes over 6 figures. So all these internet guys are out there going, I'm making tons of money, right? Well, we have a huge responsibility, because let me tell you, the people in those war-torn countries that we displaced off of their land for the natural resources and our way of life, the cobalt and the electric vehicles and the mining for lithium in our phones and our cars and the oil that we with everything, those fighting age adults are crossing our border right now. So all that shit's coming home to roost. So we get to save this planet and change this world as men, as successful men now, or you're not worth any bullshit that you're propagating on the internet. You have a responsibility as a young man, as a successful man in the United States of America, 100%.
And we need to create more men like that, because I was watching a thing in your story the other day, like you don't have to look far to see tons of weak, obedient men that are just lacking testosterone and confidence and capability. They're out of shape. Mentally, they're super out of shape. And I think this is why society is really falling down, because so many men they look at other men that do take being a man as a serious thing, right? They look at guys that are like super masculine, they're confident, they're strong, they're doing their thing. But maybe they've been raised by single mothers, or maybe they've just been watching the news all the time, or so involved in culture that they feel like, I think, maybe they can't compete. And I think that's why so many men are just turning into these little weak little beta boys that just go along with anything. But how in the world are we going to fight back if that's the direction of men? We need men to go the other way, to know who they are, accept that, hey, look, I need to be a good man, but be good at being a man. You know, and I know you talk about that
I think
all
the
time.
savages will always rise.
Well,
Mhm.
good, but I want more savages.
Mhm.
You know, because we're fighting some big monsters.
Yeah,
you know, we need
it's-
more savages.
It's a funny thing. Exactly what you said. The savages will always rise. The barbarians will always come to the gates of Rome and defeat Rome.
That's
Like
right.
that's just the way that it happens, right? And you mentioned the border. That's happening right now.
Yeah.
Like the United States is Rome in this you know in this instance, and the barbarians are coming across the gates. And like this is
The only
happening.
problem is
like,
they're all doped up on welfare cash.
right,
Yeah,
right.
So that's weakening them. Anyways,
we're funding our own downfall. You know what I mean? And it's like so. The civilization is always going to go in that direction. Like the barbarians will always, the have-nots will always go for the haves, and it's just this cycle. And I love that what you said about transcending that, right? And I think that's the next evolution of the human civilization is somehow transcending that need for the barbarians to take out the haves, right? For the have-nots to take out the haves, because if we all have, then there are no have-nots, right? And that's a very, I would consider myself a very libertarian, very right-leaning person, I suppose, but I have a lot of, like, I guess you would call those liberal thoughts like that too, of like, we're at this point in human civilization where we don't have to do that anymore. We know that there's an abundance of, resources.
Yes.
We know that we can do it the right way,
Yes.
but we're stuck in the old school, thought process of resources and, scarcity and, all these things.
Us against them.
And
And this is divide and conquer. This is communism at its highest level. That's
Mhm.
why we as knowledgeable people have to do the math. And, I'd like to give a big shout out to the capable. I got Eric Kiahi in Hawaii, jiu-jitsu guy underneath Hickson Gracie. Savage, right? And a heart of gold and incredible coach. My other guy in Venice Beach, California, Michael Holt, savage and saint. He's got a huge meditation practice and teaches men how to be capable as martial artists. And then to have that juxtaposed with the meditation, and then taking all of that energy and walking through with that neutral power, right?
Mhm.
To change the world, being capable of destruction and also being capable of having that saint inside of us. And so there are the savages. I don't think we need to fight another revolution. We have already fought all the
Mhm.
revolutions. This is an evolution. This
Mhm.
is a battle inside of ourselves of ultimately what we want. And so, and I think it's a time of unity where we can come together on these fundamental principles. We've been sold a lie through propaganda.
Mhm.
And again, this is the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. He's a little weak man in his little propaganda machine. And actually, when the curtain comes down, the world is abundant. Right? There is abundance of everything, and technology can feed and clothe and shelter the world. Everyone. No man is left behind, no man, woman, or child. And so, and I like RFK's platform, and now Trump's, and now the blue-tards are trying to come on with the same thing. It's for the children. This is the health of the children, right? It's very simple. The health of the human being is directly related to the environment. The world is abundant. There's only 4 needs: water, food, shelter, and fire. Fire is represented with technology. We can make 3D printed houses in 24 hours now. And so imagine what we can do when we put our mind into technology. So technology ends up being our whipping boy instead of going into the matrix simulation and we become slaves. I'm not accepting that. And that's what I'm here to change. We can make technology our whipping boy. We don't need to upload our consciousness to the mainframe and the iCloud, because we are much more powerful than these cell phones and computers. They're prosthetics compared to what the human being is capable of. I studied with Maori healers for over 25 years. And Papa Joe, the great Maori healer, he told me before he died, he said, the human being is the most technological advanced piece of equipment in the whole entire universe. And so if you look at the teachings of the masters of the Far East, where scientists and government operatives were sent to the Far East, not the Middle East, the Far East, to study the Shaolin monks that could walk through walls and the meditation teachers that lived in the Himalayas, 12 out of the 13 operatives stayed with the Masters of the Far East because of the fantastical consciousness that they were able to develop. And so we have the capabilities to do all of that as human beings. And so, but we need to be turned on, not dumbed down.
Yeah.
And so we can rise up to the next level. And this is the evolution I'm calling forth.
I love that you call your program the Fit and Free Legacy Method. I mean, that's perfect. Fit and Free Legacy, right? So we've talked about a lot of stuff here, and it's obvious you're very knowledgeable, you've very well researched, and you have a lot to give people. So like, what inspired you to take all that and put that into this Fit and Free Legacy?
Well, that was developed through the school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, just like any business, you just gotta beat the streets and just keep going, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had some success. I worked with an organic superfood company for the past decade. I partnered with David Sandoval. He's got farmland in Utah, all pesticide, herbicide free. Great, fantastic products. That's how I monetized my social media presence early on. Before that, I was with an herbal company in the Amazon rainforest. And so once I built my herbal and superfood business up to a certain level, my book came out. I also released my breathwork course during COVID, and that was really successful. And then as soon as I had some level of success, my job is not my business. My job is to transform human consciousness, is to elevate human consciousness. And so as soon as I started having success in these other arenas, scale. I'm like, scale, automate, scale, automate. And so I spent $250,000 or more in the last 3 years on scaling and automation, and plenty of failure. And I watch, some of these other internet marketers or people on the internet that don't have as much skills that I would like to study from, appear to be crushing it online. So I figured if they can do it, then I can do it. And so I got together with Mike Gonzalez over there at Freedom Builders. He's built Paul Chek's Spirit Gym and about 80 of my colleagues' courses. And so we got together, we did a rebrand session. We packaged all my knowledge up in a condensed, concise, world-class offering. And so it's an 11-week course. I'm also certifying my coaches as well. And then we've developed the Knowledge of Self University, where everything is housed. We house it on Circle currently. And so it has all my courses, but the Fit and Free Legacy Method, the most important thing for men is having that purpose. Otherwise, we can drive ourselves crazy. And I've worked with high performance athletes, Robbie Madison. He jumped Caesar's Palace with his motorcycle. Rhino Ryan Hughes, the motocross champion of the world. And I've seen that these guys, they have a vision and then they cut through the fabric of reality. They do, like Robbie had a vision of jumping Caesar's Palace. And then they do it. Rhino Ryan Hughes wanted to ride faster, right? That's all his dream was. And he became, a champion many times over. And so, the mind can cut through the fabric of reality. And so once we're clear on what our heart desires, and so many times I get with men or women who join the class and they think kind of like they've got to have this other legacy when their family is oftentimes more important than anything. They've already started it. Yeah, being a mom, you're good, right? Let's focus on that, get them off to college. Maybe you want to build a business beyond that. That's great. We'll help you do that as well. But being a mom, like, boom, you got healthy children, you've got successful children. Like, let's focus on that. Let's make sure that we build mom up so that she can take care of the family. Mm-hmm. So we wrap their whole holistic health program, their fitness program around their legacy. Men are the same thing. They need a purpose. They need a due north. And oftentimes they don't do their dream because they can't monetize it in their head. So they put it aside. They stop playing music. They stop writing poetry. They stop doing the things that really make their heart sing. And so in a very short amount of time, I have a handful of exercises. I take people, I find out what's in their heart. We look at their nightmare. What would happen if they win the lottery? What they were good at as a child, what their effortless genius is. And so I start to put these things together and I ask the questions quick. And so they're not in their head.
Yeah.
So by the time I feed them back to their dream, they're like, wow. And I put it in a nice little piece of poetry. And then we can put the other 9 pillars around that. And it's much easier to create a holistic lifestyle because they're guided by their heart.
Heck yeah. So you have it ironed out now. Like you got a lot of people going through it, but like, just like we've built a lot of programs and, we started Earn Your Booze in 2017, which is like 8 years or something now, right? Or 7 years. Dude, there's so many ups and downs in business. It's insane. So like from your perspective now, like having a book, having courses, being as accomplished as you are now, like what's been some of the ups and downs from the business side?
Well, the internet's the Wild West right now. So
Yeah.
everybody will take your money. And we were talking about the beta males that are out there on many different levels. Well, there's plenty of beta guys that are out there. Maybe they learn some sales techniques. Maybe they learn a course from some other digital marketer, SMMA, like Ty Lopez started all that stuff. And so not that some of those don't have value, but as you well know, only 1 to 3% become a Kobe Bryant, right? And so there's only 1 to 3% that are really worth their salt that opens up these agencies or these digital gimmicks, as I call them. And so I've hired a handful of people, website developers. It's not a website anymore. It's not a website unless it's making money. So the website's got to be connected to Stripe. Then your course has to be launched. Then you have a sales funnel or a click funnel, and that has a VSL, and it's got to be packaged and it's got to be priced. And it's, so there's many of these moving parts. And early on, I was doing really good with a marketing partner, but he was controlling all my data and he wasn't giving me accounting, which tells me there was either theft involved or some form of dishonesty, and I couldn't be involved with it. Very grateful for what we created, but you can't dominate and own my IP. Data is everything in today's world.
Yes.
So it took me 3 years and $250,000 to kind of break up from that situation and then go around and create that. And plenty of people raised their hand, like, I could do that. SEO and proposals and stuff like that. And you start throwing thousands of dollars at that. And it's like, well, there's nothing but excuses, right? So again, back to the beta male, the amateurs, they show up, they're good at sales. And I like to take men at the value of their word. You look me in the eye, you shake me, your hand, then, okay, let's do it. You've got some success in this area. You say you can do it. Let's do it. I know it can be done. You say you can do it. Let's do it. And there just hasn't been a lot of recourse for people who are like, well, and to me, a finished website or a finished back end is I've had money coming in the back end. And so, that's the complete, thing where it's working in my sleep. I have other facets of my business that are doing that. So it's been a learning curve of people putting together graphics, sales page, copy, all of that stuff. And then, really delivering. So through the School of Hard Knocks, I've gotten incredible business partners. Big shout out to Barbero Kaiko. He's my business partner with a superfood company. My assistant, Curtis, he stuck with me through the book. He read the book 7 times, helped me edit it. He's been with me for about 5 years, helped me develop everything. He's fantastic. He interned and he's put himself into a top level position in my company as we go towards $100 million. I see the vision already, $100 million, because I'm not here. That's just a measurement of impact. I'm here to change the world. And then we just brought on Sasha, COO. He's got a background in e-commerce. He's a meditator, Zen guy, but he's German. Show me the structure. And so now I got these guys helping me out with structure and hiring, and I've got the right people in place, and I've made enough mistakes. And I'm also an entrepreneur that I'm not afraid of risk, right? But I'm making less and less mistakes now.
I love that. I mean, we hear people say all the time how important teamwork is, but that's a surface level comment. Especially in business, you have to have the right people in the right place. And you got to support those people. And like you said, that one guy that rolled with you through reading the book 7 times, and he's still there. He's earned a bigger spot in the company, I love that. I think that's a great takeaway for entrepreneurs is like, as much as you might want to be, the guy who's shaking hands and like doing all this stuff and trying to take it all on and do it yourself because no one else can do it the right way and all that kind of, it's not going to work. And you especially are never going to scale trying to take all that stuff on. It's so easy to get bogged down with everything, but I love how you've basically built up your knowledge and your ability to lead and teach. And you're like, all right, I don't know enough about this other kind of stuff on the back end. And that's cool. I can say that. Let's get some other people to do that. Like, that's how you're going to scale.
Yeah. I mean, I'm great at this. I've been doing this for 35 years.
Yeah.
But I don't do email.
Yeah.
Right. And people freak out when I say that, but I'm too overwhelmed. I can't externalize my life so much that I'm on social media and email and text message and have my kids and communicating with all these people. So I got to have people that can read my emails, that can feedback, that can do what I don't want to do. I'm the type of guy where you say you can do what you're doing, go for it.
You better do it.
Well, go for it because I don't want to do it. And I'm clear on that.
Yeah.
So high five and then deliver. And then I don't want to hear any word salads.
Yeah.
If you say you can do that, excuses, those are excuses. There's results and there's excuses, but you can't have both.
That's right. That's a good point. So I wanted to also ask you about this Planet Earth campaign that you I think you're the president of.
President of Planet Earth.
Like, he's the president of Planet Earth. We didn't even know that. Dude, that's cool. But we've talked a lot about water and air and the planet in general on here. So what is that? Because I've read a little bit, but I want to hear directly from you.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, when the circus comes to town about every 4 years, I figure, how can I really change this? How can I participate in the circus? And how can I change things? Because there's some things that I like about our political structure. And then I see how everything's just been co-opted, whitewashed, bastardized, sold out. And so I like to play outside of the system. And so I believe that attention is the new oil, and social media is a great way to get attention. And I also like art, and I did comedy and stand-up for many years. So I run for president of Planet Earth each selection year. And so, nobody beat me the last 2 times. So I've been president of Planet Earth for the last 8 going on 16 years, because I'm going to win this year as well. And it's just a way for me to play inside the political structure and or play outside of it and dance to my own tune. So my President of Planet Earth campaign has 4 major solutions for humanity. Free energy. Nikola Tesla already developed it. And the physicists were working on cold fusion in the 80s. John Harrison up in Canada was melting steel blocks at room temperature. So, and the Wright brothers, whatever the mind can conceive and believe can achieve, the Wright brothers wanted to fly like an eagle, and everybody told them they were crazy. They took Steve Jobs' Apple Computer Company away from him for 10 years because he wanted to put a handheld computer in every man's hand. He wasn't a designer. He wasn't an engineer. He was the idea and the visionary. So whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So calling forth free energy or some type of clean energy that subjugates the oligarchy, the petrodollar, and the slave mechanisms that are all set up right now. And then self-care education, when we are taught as children to take care of our own real estate, our own vessel, then we're going to naturally take care of our side of the street. And then the local environment right around us should be clean enough for us to thrive as well. And so self-care education is at the cornerstone. And then permaculture, food is free when we drop a seed into the ground and we plant food forests. A lot of information on biodynamic farming. Steiner developed that many years ago. And so we can create food that's beneficial for all. You go to the islands, fruit is abundant, right? And so permaculture, and then finally the gift economy. When people live their purpose, live their effortless genius, everyone can contribute, and maybe we can contribute something to the commons. I used to live on the beach in Santa Monica. If I've got to clean the bathroom stalls once a month or something like that, I can participate in that for living in a beautiful world. And so the Zulu nation, in Africa, created that word, Ubuntu. It means contributionism. Paper money, this is a fictitious idea. And there's 4 human needs. We don't need plastic trinkets from China, right? And so food, water, shelter, and fire. And fire is represented with technology. And as I stated before, I believe that technology can be our whipping boy instead of being enslaved by it. So those are my solutions for humanity, and aligning all these principles with biomimicry, which is a scientific term that life creates conditions conducive for life. And so if we live as nature does with our local environment, we can create things that are made out of hempcrete. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
And we can make cement that's no different from the coral reefs, which are very strong. And a spider creates something 5 times the strength of steel with components from its natural environment at room temperature and aqueous solutions. What we're doing now with commercial industrial waste is we are taking things far away from in the chemical chart, and we're putting them together in forced bonds. And these are creating toxic compounds we're unleashing into the environment and wreaking all sorts of havoc. And Paul Stamets has already created mushroom spores that can eat toxic waste from the military. So we can save the fucking planet. We just got to come to terms with, let's do it. And as men, let's get together and be like, yeah, we can do that, and support each other in this evolution instead of just, this whole scarcity model. We're living in a basic mini Hunger Games right now. Everybody's like fighting each other for like top dog on the internet and stuff. Well, we've got a planet here. We've got a planet with resources, and we need to create systems that are conducive for life in general.
Was that Agaricus cubensis? I think was that it was one of the agaricons that he was doing, and oddly enough, that agaricon mushroom also kills COVID. So
interesting.
We have solutions.
Yeah. I think all the solutions to sickness and illness and all that is all out there.
Correct.
Like you're in the Amazon, not all in the Amazon, but across the planet. I think all of the answers are out there. But we turn all the time as a society to science and pharma and all this manufactured stuff that is absolutely killing us. It's killing our brains and our bodies and everything.
Well, what people call science, first of all, is scientism. 2/3 of all Nobel Prizes get overturned within 10 years. Science is a methodology of observation that's ever evolving as we evolve our instruments. It's not this written thing. And then you put propaganda on top of it. And I postulate that scientists are the prostitutes of the modern era. So they will say anything or skew data so that you can sell your product. That's how they got glyphosate put on the market. Yep. And so they're not looking at the whole. Science isn't looking at the whole. And not to mention, you want to talk science? Who's science? Are we talking Cartesian, Newtonian physics? Or are we talking unified field theory? Like, what kind of science are you talking about, bro?
Right. And I love that one sign. The science is settled. There's no such thing as settled science. It is always evolving. There's always new tests, always new data, new information, new different kinds of science to run it through. Like, if it was settled, like how boring would the planet be?
This is what I tell people on that basis of observation, right? Because science is observation. Totally agree with that. It's just my observation can be different. And my observation when somebody asks me about, modern medicine or my doctor told me this. And I said, is your doctor overweight? Yeah.
There's your science right there, bitch.
And then, you throw the, I think it's 58 or 6. It was either 58 or 63. I'm going to fact check that when we're done here, but it's like 58 or 58 or 63% of people in medicine are overweight.
Yeah. Dead doctors don't lie.
Yeah. And that was a great book. That was a great book.
Yeah. So, Troy, I want to ask you real quickly, or as long as you want to talk about alcohol. We've talked about poisons and sunscreens and seed oils and all that kind of stuff. But like my first company is on my shirt, earn your booze. I know for a fact, and I do believe that somebody can truly earn the ability to put something that's not super healthy in our body every once in a while. There's a lot of nuance to it and stuff like that. But what do you think about Earn Your Boots?
Your company or the idea itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it has a lot of validity, and it can start to move people in the direction. I do know that there's a big internet marketer or coach that wrote a book similar to this, which people weren't necessarily abject alcoholics, but it was just like, this might not be your optimal choice as you're moving into your 30s, 40s, 50s, professional, mom, this, that, and the other thing. I don't know the woman's name, but I'm friends with one of her coaches. And I think all substance on the planet has validity and purpose, even if it's a wake-up call. I think that slamming some pure vodka and tequila or something like that can kill parasites, fungus. I think it has some application. I think getting inebriated and exploring human consciousness has some application as well. The problem with alcohol and sugar is, part of our diabetes issue. And then I also had big challenges with addiction and was trying to calm my nervous system. Didn't know who I was. I'm still discovering who I am, right? And so, but whatever you want to call it, childhood, trauma or whatever, I would hide that. My nervous system was jacked up. And the one thing when I was living in Miami in my 20s and there was alcohol all around me, if I just picked up a drink, I'd be, real mellow. I'd mellow out for a while until either I got hungover or I got too wasted, and then I'd become an animal, right? Yeah. And so I think a little bit of alcohol is not really a problem, right? If people choose to do that. I mean, fermented wine is certainly not what it was back in the day, because it was also a health product, right? It helped digestion. I think the same could be said about beer and stuff like that. And also they used to use, was it ergot?
Yeah.
And absinthe. So they would ferment other grains, and this is where some of the psychedelics would come in. So there was plenty of experimentation with altered states of consciousness. And I think that has some application. However, what alcohol has become, especially with the additives, and how they manufacture it and the quality of the alcohol. Again, back to, it's not what you eat or what you ingest, it's the quality of what you eat and what you ingest. I go through the same thing with tobacco and marijuana for my clients, and coffee, right? Let's get you on all natural, organic, highest quality we possibly can and have that conversation. Is your nervous system fried? Do you need to rotate off of coffee? Having an intelligent conversation, and I present the yin and the yang, the positive and negative with my clients, and then they get to make a balanced choice. And so for alcohol with me, it's just not my optimal choice. And I've realized that, and it has been a detrimental choice. My 20s and 30s, there was times when I couldn't stop. And so that really needed to stop. And then later on, I started introducing a drink here or there. And I did that for 3 or 4 years until I decided to go out and get wasted one night. And I got a DUI with 2 children. And then I realized, okay, well, that's definitely not my fucking optimal choice at all. And I can get hungover. One of the reasons why I quit in my 30s was because I would get 5-day hangovers. I'd go out and party. I lived in Miami when I was modeling back in the day. And it was an incredible time. I was a Versace model, and I drank for free on that beach, and cocaine was either free or dirt cheap for me. And so I partied my ass off. And there was a time when it was just, that's enough. And I started meditating. And then again, alcohol came back into my life a little bit. And I got wasted, and I paid the price for that. And so I just did the math. It's just not worth it for me. I'm also the type of person that doesn't beat myself up, because I saw so much psychological wounding in the AA rooms. And I also saw shitty commercial cigarettes, shitty coffee with shitty creamer and shitty sugar donuts. And it's like, those are going to create more imbalances in your body and make you want to drink anyways. And then they didn't want to have that conversation. So AA, and then you're always a bad person. And then everybody's like, then they relapse and like, it's a big fucking game, man.
Yeah.
And so I don't put myself in the prison if I can never have a drink. And so I think I was in Mexico in 2018 and I had some tequila. I had one or two and that was it. And so I just, to me, it's like how I do the psychology in my mind. I want it to be more balanced and then make the highest choice from there, as opposed to I'm sick, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a bad boy forever. And I like to have more of an open mind and more of a balanced psychology. So I think what you're doing is really bringing a lot more awareness, and fuck yeah, if you get your workouts in, if you really choose to drink, then get healthy. And then here's the thing, you're going to get drunk and you're going to have a hangover and maybe do some dumb shit and get a couple years older and maybe want to be successful in business going through your program. And then they might realize like, hey, I don't really know if I need alcohol at all. Right. And then they come to their own conclusion. And so I think that's much more healthy and healing than you're a bad boy. You're always going to be a bad boy and stay in this AA room and play our psychological games with us.
That's what resonated me when I originally found that brand. Before I actually worked with Justin years ago, I was sober for 2 years because I had a problem too. I was a bottle a night guy to go to sleep. After I got out of the military, it was bottle of Maker's Mark every night just so I could go to sleep and then wake up the next morning at 5:30 and go be a subsea engineer in the oil field. Like that's, and when I saw the brand, I had been sober for 2 years and I was like, earn your booze. That makes a lot of sense. It makes more sense than the AA, right? Because I met a guy at AA that had been an alcoholic he was an alcoholic for 15 years and then he'd been sober for 30, but he still identified with being an alcoholic. And I was like, that doesn't jive with my brain. Like, why do you still say that you're an alcoholic when you've been sober for twice as long as you're an alcoholic? And he was like, well, that's just what AA tells me to do. I'm like, oh God, I don't like that at all. Like this is the wrong mindset for me. I'm in a growth mind. I want to get past this. I want to, like they say, get the monkey off your back or whatever. And I saw the brand wherever it was, probably good marketing on his part, and I was like, man, this makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go out this weekend. I'm going to have an old fashioned. I'm going to have one, see what happens. Went out, had an old fashioned. Nothing happened. Woke up, worked out, did the thing. I was like, oh, okay. Didn't have another one for, I don't know, probably a couple months. I was like, I get it now. Now I understand that it's not about like you said, I'm this and I'm just always going to be this. And that's the wrong mindset.
It's a prison.
It's a prison.
What do you want to do when you're in prison?
Hey.
Break out.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really appreciate that you said that, that, and it's like, come to your own conclusion of what that poison means to you. Right. And for me, like I rarely drink anymore. And when I do, it's tequila or it's a really good scotch or something like that. And that's what it is. It's not a thing anymore, And I think that's where the growth really happens for somebody is when you do, rebuild them from the ground up, like you're doing in your program, like we do in our program, where it's like, come to your own conclusion of this. Because if you get yourself to this healthy point, you're going to make better decisions anyways. And you're going to make decisions that make you feel good. And you're going to like all these little pillars come up and they build you back into like the person that you're supposed to be. So I really appreciate that. That's that's what you see when you see that. So
yeah, I like to say that we're managing our addictions to the degree we're managing our stress. And most people don't even know where our stress is coming from. I put that in the book as well, The 7 Factors of Stress. We've got nutritional stress. One of the first books that I read back in Miami when I started to sober up was all about nutrition and mineralization. If we don't have the proper vitamins and minerals in our body, we're going to feel like shit. And if we feel like shit, we might as well just get a drink because that'll make us feel better.
Yep.
And so, and then, there's psychic stress. Are you hanging out with assholes in the wrong industry or the office? There's thermal stress. Is it too hot or is it too cold? I mean, the air conditioning's pumping and then you go outside and it's hot. It's like, these are all stress factors and stress summates in the body. Yep. And so, By the time we lose our cool, that's an emotional outburst. But stress is always summating in the body until we off gas it, get in the sauna, get a damn good night's sleep, get a really good bone in slow cook.
Yeah. And then to your point of mineralization, right? If you don't have the proper minerals inside your body to go through those enzymatic processes that help break down that stress, because it's not just the sleep, it's like your brain's ability to break down amyloid beta while you're in REM sleep. And in order for that to happen, you have to have certain minerals. You have to have chromium and manganese and, all these things. And something that you had said earlier about soil, I kind of wanted to get into this a little bit, was, the soil here in the United States specifically is insanely overfarmed. It's devoid of nutrients. It's only got NP and K in it, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So even if somebody's trying to eat more healthy and they're getting more fruits and vegetables and stuff, like most of the stuff, if you're getting it from a factory farm, is devoid of the nutrients anyways. So it's like, you gave us some Shilajit when you came in. So it's like, there are ways to get those minerals in, but I think that's the, when somebody starts the journey, it's like they need to understand that mineralization is insanely important, because those are that is what is in charge of all these things, not the vitamins. The vitamins are good for energy production and stuff like that and energy utilization, but the minerals are even more important because they're the ones that start the enzyme processes. They're the ones that, like, magnesium's like 350 something plus like processes that it goes through or that it's directly in charge of. And most Americans are, they're insanely depleted of magnesium. And then if you're stressed too, that like all these other like minerals are devoid too. So,
Well, that's why I've worked with 2 herbal and superfood companies for the last 20 years. I studied underneath Dr. Richard Schultz, and he had a great superfood product, and he had great herbs for cleaning out the liver, the kidneys, the colon, et cetera. And so it's essential to get those types of nutrients in the body and feed your endocrine and your organ systems. And so that's exactly why I work with high quality micronutrition. And then when it comes to food, I work as much as I can with Farmer Direct, Farmer's Market. Again, my business partner, Barbero, he's got Salad Master titanium cookware. It's like a $6,000 set.
Wow.
And he makes soups all the time. He's got California farmers. He goes back and forth to California. We also go to the farmer's market here in Arizona. And we've got, big shout out to Brian Jones out there in Sholo. We've got soil scientists that are doing the work. There are mom and pop people. There are people doing composting and fallowing, which is real organics. And some of these smaller farms, they can really produce a lot of food, and you'll find them at the farmer's market, and they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it for their own survival. So get out there and support the farmers markets and the local farms. And here we also have the Arcadia Meat Market. Nick is fantastic. And, we can source. There is food available. And remember, if you got the capital right now, you want to invest in good food and farmers right now, because if we don't, we're all going to be eating that factory farm.
The bugs.
Soil depleted. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. People try and talk about nutrition on the internet all day long, but I haven't heard anyone like Paul Chek, Nutrition, the Dirt Facts. It's a 10-part video on YouTube. It's phenomenal. Talks about the nematodes and what actually makes up the soil, the paramagnetic rocks that are aligned with the celestial realm and the energy from the moon and the sun. And so this is real nutrition. It comes from the soil. And so it's not just a carrot, an apple, seedless watermelon from Whole Foods, right? That's the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Or actually, that's the medium of the barrel. Bottom of the barrel would be your commercial food stores.
Aldi.
I bought a watermelon at AJ's. It says AJ's Fine Foods, and I know it's not organic. And I go in there, but I'm thinking maybe they got a good one, and it was seedless. And I was like, and I got it home, and it just tasted like pesticides. I was just like,
so that last time Justin had a watermelon, he broke out and like weird. What was it? What happened?
I love watermelon. Yeah. So we brought one home, and it was organic. I think it's from Costco's in like one of those stretchy bags. Chopped it up, and I just, take down like a whole mini melon, or something. And as I'm finishing it, I start to notice that my throat's getting real scratchy. I'm really starting to sniff, and my eyes, like everything, my whole sinus started to kind of wig out on me.
Anaphylactic.
And I was like, oh man. So I stopped eating it. And sure enough, for the next couple hours, I was, having a problem. And I, went away and I was like, well, crap, I don't want to stop eating watermelon. But it was the quality of that watermelon. It was nuts, but I noticed it right away.
Yeah, Bill Gates invested in this company called Appeal. It puts some kind of petrochemical byproducts on the skin of some of the stuff. And I had to interview the guy at Whole Foods a couple of times, and they always want to write you off, like, "Oh, we got," and I was just like, "Well, look into it, there, buddy."
Yeah.
And then I've seen him over the last year or so, and keep checking in with them.
Appeal. But you can't wash it off either.
Dude, they were trying to sneak that in because we got these avocados, and it came from this one farm, and we went to the farm's website, and it said, "We use Appeal." And so I told him that. He's like, well, I don't know anything about that. I was like, well, you might want to look into this. And then we were cutting the avocados open. They were rotten on the inside. And so they're putting these petrochemical byproducts in them. And so, and this is, back to the sinister, the Satan, whatever that guy's doing. That guy's weird, man. Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Gates, savior of planet Earth.
If you look at just as a rational human being, for everybody that's listening, just look at Bill Gates as a human being. He looks like a sack of potatoes. He's insanely unhealthy, and he's got like man tits, and he's the person that you want in charge of your health. Like, really? Like, come on.
No thanks.
As they say in Mexico, saca de merda. You fucking bag of shit. God bless you, Bill. Hey, Luke Skywalker needs a Darth Vader.
That's right,
man.
So, Troy, certified health nut. You got any parting shots for people? We've talked about a lot of good stuff here, but what else you got for us?
Just God bless everyone and our great awakening, that we're going through. Take everything with a grain of salt. Know that we're all children of God, and that we can have, whatever we want, whatever we pray into existence, speak into existence that which we wish to see. Watch all my videos and have a great day.
There we go. That's it.
Perfect.
All right.
Close it up with that, man. Appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime.